Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on bin number 2. Now, it's been 12 days since I took out half the bin and added it to a tray, and then also at that same time, I took half of bin 1, which I then sorted, but one half I put in bin 2. So it's one of these, we're going to go over both today. So I know this is a little confusing here, but bin 2 right now has half of bin 2 in it, and then half of bin 1 in it, and we mixed it together to try to get the moisture level correct. The other half of bin 2 went into a separate container, and it's one of my mortar trays, so it's a longer container, really thin, and we spread it out, and I've been kind of mixing it up when I could, and it's been sitting now for 12 days. So we're going to see how both of these look and see how they're doing. Now, I think at this time they might be ready to be harvested, but we're going to have to see when we open them up and really take a look. So with that, let's start with bin number 2, the actual bin that has half of bin 2 and then half of bin 1, and let's see how it's doing. And remember, it's been 12 days since my last update, so I haven't touched this at all. All it has is the lid on it, and that's it. So with that, let's go. All right, here we are with bin number 2. It's on the 8th. As I said, 12 days. Top pretty dry. Let's just put that off to the side now. Now let's take a look in here. So I've got my gloves, or a glove. We'll pull out this thing. I just left this in there just to leave it somewhere. Now let's just dig through this here and see how this looks. This looks a lot better, actually. The material itself, this could probably actually go through the harvesting machine. I might need to dry it a little bit more. Maybe I could leave the lid off of it for a day. But so far, this is looking really, really nice. I also could probably do if I wanted to, maybe add a cantaloupe or something to the side to try to get a harvest going in here. But this material actually does look much nicer after mixing these two together. It's not nearly as muddy. You can see right here, kind of crumbles apart in your hand. It's a little sticky, as you can see on the tips of my gloves. It's still sticking a little bit, but it's not too bad. Worms look pretty healthy in here, even though there's no food or anything. But yeah, I mean, you can see it's a little sticky on the sides. But overall, this is really, really good. I was worried that it might dry out too much, or not dry out at all, or just make the other stuff wet. But it does look a lot better. So this did work, half and half. So if you have a wet bin, you could add half of your nice material to it, and it'll seem to fix it right up. Now that doesn't, if you remember, I don't think I added any moisture to this or anything like that. So, but it looks really good. Material looks good. I think we're still going to wait maybe another week before we try to sort it and put it through the sorting machine. But this material looks really, really good. It looks like it's ready to go. I'm still finding pieces of banana peels in here and everything, but let me just make sure that's in view. But yeah, no, this is pretty impressive. I did not expect this, really. I thought that this would just kind of ruin both bins. That was my biggest concern. As I said, there's still a little bit of moisture in those corners. That's normal. That's usually the most moist part. You can hear me squeaking against the bottom, but if I were to go back and forth, there's no moisture buildup where I'm just squeaking the entire time. So really looks really, really good. I'm really impressed by this, and this worked really well. Although there's also no these big clumps just kind of come right apart. So it's not like it's big hard clumps or anything like that, which I've had in some bins when I've tried to dry them out. I mean, this one right here, this looks like a pretty decent sized clump, but look at this, just comes right apart. Tons of little worms there, including a little baby worm right there. Oh, there we go. Let's get him in focus there. There's a baby worm right there, a little wisp. So yeah, this actually worked pretty well, and I would suggest this in the future. If you're having issues and you have one bin that's good and one bin that's bad, you can mix them half and half, kind of fix them both up. So we're gonna put the lid back on this. I'm gonna put this little piece of Amazon stuff back inside as well, the plastic wrap. But I'm going to put the lid back on this, and we'll come back maybe in a few days to a week, and we'll put this through the sorting machine. But let's see how the other container is doing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just move this off to the side and bring in our other container here. And this has been too. As I said, I have been mixing this up, although I haven't mixed it in a couple days. I was on a trip, and so let's just see here. As you can see, this is what I was talking about, these clumps. You see, you get these kind of like big clumps in here. But this still isn't too bad. I mean, I can still break these apart They're not overly dry, but they're still very, it's very clumpy comparatively. The other one I think felt a little better, material. You can hear it. You can see that it's just a very different material in general. Worms are all congregating towards the bottom. You can see that there's a ton of worms in here, but they are at the bottom. Why? Because that's where the moisture is. And I bet if I I bet I could do a sort on this just by like light. I bet I could just do a light sort on this. But you can see almost all the worms there are in the middle. There's actually a few over here. But almost all of them are in this middle section right here. There's not many of them anymore, because there's no food really in here, but there's also not a lot of moisture content. So what I'm going to have to do here, I'm going to put this back. I'm going to add a little bit of moisture, but just, as you can see, I mean, like this though, these are hard nuggets, you got to break them apart really. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add one section of moisture, I think, right here in the center. I think I've got some water in my watering can here, or my sprayer. I'm just going to spray a little bit of water into the center to see if we can kind of get the worms to congregate there, and then in another day or two, I think I will actually just take out the worms, and I'll put all this material into my actual good, my storage container for all my castings, and I think that'll be enough. I mean, like, with all the good castings in there, it'll make it where it's good. You know, this material where it gets a little bit better, adds a little bit of moisture, breaks apart these sections. But we need to get this moist, so we're going to add some moisture right here to the center. And what this is going to do, it's going to bring all those worms, I think, from all over to where the moisture is, because they need moisture to survive. And just spray just a little bit around the outside, just to make sure they have some way to get there. But we're going to really saturate that center section. And my hope is that they will travel to that center section for moisture, and then I'll just be able to kind of pick up this center section, and then that will be it. That'll be the harvest for this. The rest of this goes into the material, and this bin will be done. But this did work. It didn't work as well as the other system, though, as you can see. I mean, you can see that these chunks here are just, you know, they're big and clumpy. I mean, there's still worms in there, which I'd probably put those towards the center there. But you can just see, I mean, like, you get these big chunks, and you just got to kind of break them apart here. And they're getting kind of hard. I mean, like this one I can't break apart of, and actually it looks like there was a worm in there. But, you know, these things are really hard to break apart. And that's not what you want at all. You don't want these hard. I mean, when they get that hard, they also die. The material inside, there's no microbes and everything. They've dried out too much, and they've actually died. So that's not the goal of this. So we're done with these for now. We'll come back to them, I guess, a little bit later and harvest the other one. And for this one, we'll harvest it by just doing that, as I said, the center grab where all the worms are. And this bin 2 system will be done, and we'll move on to other things. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you.